So our first presenter is a mixed team from Indonesia and Japan. So they are Dr. Evawani Ellisa, who is a faculty member of the Department of Architecture at Universitas Indonesia. And with her is Professor Akiko Okabe, who is an architect and professor from the Graduate School of Frontier Sciences at the University of Tokyo. Lastly, we also have architect Tomohiko Amemiya from the Urban Design Office in Tokyo. So together they will be presenting their paper, 10 years of experience in practicing community engagement in high-dense urban kampung.
Okay, thank you. On behalf of my colleagues, Professor Akiko Okabe and Tomohiko Amemiya, I'd like to share our presentation entitled 10 Years of Experience in Practicing Community Engagement in High-Dense Urban Kampung, focusing on one kampung in Jakarta called Kampung Cikini. Kampung Cikini is a very small, crowded settlement. It covered only 3 times of football ground or less than 4 hectares. One day, a Japanese student tried to literally draw the football ground at the map and then painted the football ground boundaries at any surface visibly to be drawn, and the result is like this. The kampung structure is so complicated that we need to fly a drone to figure out the exact situation of this kampung. The pocket of Kampung Cikini sit in a very good location at the second ring of Jakarta. So over there, the national monument of the first ring of Jakarta could be clearly identified. So if you want to visit this kampung by commuter line, just stop at Cikini station, cross the street, and this kampung is located in such a way since it's divided by old market called Pasar Cikini, which form into axis from the station to the bridge that also become one of 5 gates exist at Cikini. A small river of Keroncong River or Kali Keroncong laid in perpendicular across the market, and the river goes all the way to the big Ciliwung River. The surrounding commercial and business development enable the inhabitants of this kampung to gain the economic opportunities by offering services and petty business. To let you know what we have been done in Cikini in these last 10 years was not easy. But in short, we have 2 types of engagement at Cikini. One is through design and build project, or we call it as urban acupuncture or macro project. So this is the situation before and after acupuncture. The other engagement regarded as micro project, or an UI Japanese students joint studio workshop with the tagline JKTWS in Bahasa Indonesia. These activities had consistently never been absent every year until 2020, and we also consistently recorded all JKTWS into these booklets. Some of the macro projects at Kampung Cikini were UI Community Engagement Project, and in this case, I invited students through open recruitment. The community engagement at campus has never been part of curriculum, so that students never get credit for their participation. So their intention were mostly volunteer. 3 macro projects conducted through collaboration with the student of Professor Akiko Okabe under the supervision of Mr. Tomohiko Amemiya. Japanese master students live in Kampung Cikini and supervise the project while doing their master research project. In this case, some UI students usually interest to join, partly because they interest to engage with the community and partly because they interest to make friends with Japanese students. In the macro small project, 8 to 10 master Japanese students mix up with 10 to 15 UI students, and they work hand in hand for 10 days. And the workshop was divided into 2 main phases, the field survey at Kampung Cikini and the workshop studio at UI campus. And final proposal of the workshop prepared into 2 different presentations. One was academic presentation at campus, and the other was presentation in front of Kampung community. Regarding to the course, for the Indonesian student side, the workshop neither required nor optional, since 10 days were too short to include the workshop into the curriculum. However, although JKTWS regarded as an extracurriculum activity, many students were eager to join. JKTWS also popular since students gained the opportunity to join international program and thus enrich their portfolio and expand their international network. And the JKTWS also had been conducted online in last September 2020. And this time, I tried to include the workshop into online studio design course 5 as an additional or extra assignment in the first and second week of the course. Now let's back to Cikini. Walking through the alley of Kampung Cikini will allow you to experience the hardship of Kampung's living condition, which is intensified by crowding inside the house and crowding outside the houses. And walking slowly through the alley, we understand that all elements along the alley have certain meaning and function. The kampung arrangement and neighborhood condition exposing how the spatial practices at kampung put into question on conventional distinction between public and private. At kampung, everything become upside down and overlapping. Once in a while, or at least every week in Friday, the community will clean the alley, put the long vinyl plastic throughout the alley, and suddenly the alley change into the clean, purified place for praying. And every year, the alley become the ideal place for the community to distribute the meat during the Islamic Qurban. This is the way when the community utilize the intersection or the nodes at Kampung for various events, from community gathering to religious teaching. Now let's talk about other infrastructure, the open space at Kampung Cikini. Some decades ago, the government had enacted standards to apply open space that enable the community to play badminton at least, or doing other communal activities. But now it all remained into memory, since the open space had been transformed into motorbike parking. And then when we try to identify the situation at the open space, it was surprising to find that these motorbikes are there almost all the day, not only during the night, so that women, children, and all other community members who intend to utilize this open space should consider the motorbike as the existing fixed element in the context of open space. Of course, in special days, like during the celebration of Independence Days, this open space was written back to its original role for the true children playground, and even for having a wedding ceremony means that it getting back to its practical purpose to build the sense of belonging and togetherness. Now let me explain about the most important infrastructure of water. 100 years long history of Kampung enabled the community to do self-help urban service or informal infrastructuring. Unlike the normal neighborhood, in Kampung, you should become part of infrastructure itself. Means that if you want to go to the toilet, you have to fetch water to do your business, a situation which is very different from the normal neighborhood where you just simply flash and finish. The most difficult problem is how to get rid the waste and the gray water at the Kampung ground. As you see in this slide, all solid and liquid waste from toilet and kitchen straightly go to the small river of Kali Keroncong without any processing to neutralize, such as using septic tank or any controlling device. So this is how the sewage network in Cikini from household goes down to the ditch, then to Kali Keroncong, and at the end goes to Kali Ciliwung, and then pollute the river. So realizing that the basic infrastructure of the ritual cleaning component of Kampung is really crucial, recently we are focusing on the idea to help the community to improve the public toilet or MCK. And this high-dense settlement has 29 MGKs to supply the shortage of existing individual latrines that are insufficient to cover the demand of toilet for 5,000 residents. Originally, MGK is an infrastructure provided by the government as a solution to increase health and hygiene level in high-dense informal settlement. the government set up standard of MCK, and during 1980s, the government tried to abolish the MCK usually set up by the inhabitant along the Ciliwung River. Yet the problem arises when it comes for the time to improve the existing of MCK, since many MCK had never been rehabilitated from the beginning of the construction. One example is this MCK at the neighborhood called RT11. In 2015, co-funded by UI and Japan, we finished to rehabilitate this MCK. And as you can see in this picture, we built with the intention to continue the development into two-story building in the second phase of development. This is the time when we finished the first floor. And in 2016, we finally complete the building into like this. In the first floor, we keep the function of MCK, and in the second floor, we added the sort of multifunction room. When the community get ready, we intend to hand the building back to them so that they could use the second space for rental room, and the community could gain a kind of revenue that could be used for maintaining the public facilities at Kampung. As I mentioned earlier, Cikini is a very tightly packed and compact settlement with a high intensity of the passerby or strangers, that it provided abundant economic opportunities in one side, but socially vulnerable at other side. In this case, since Cikini is one of typical slum in Jakarta that face the problem of drug consumption, the most vulnerable element of Cikini is of course the MCK. The location of MCK really inviting for doing drug consumption. Therefore, MCK truly represented one of the wicked problems that should be faced at high-dense Kampung, both the problem of health and the problem of social illness. Another problem at Cikini is the presence of a very primitive toilet popular among the community as the helicopter toilet. Helicopter refers to the condition of the toilets that sit on the river in such a way as helicopter. So anybody who intend to do their business, they simply sit and all the waste will directly go down to the Keroncong River. The best solution to solve the toilet helicopter must be just remove the toilet and move into another site, or incorporate the MCK with the other MCK. Those increase the capacity of the other existing toilet. But it was surprising that although MCK is public, in fact, the community defines a kind of unwritten rule to set up invisible territory of every MCK. Therefore, the scenario to move the toilet in another site eventually impossible, and there is no other way except build the new toilet into semi-helicopter toilet like this. Of course, we do properly insert septic tank in this new toilet, and we also try to maximize as much as possible the existing situation so that consuming the drug at toilet could be avoided. This is still ongoing project and stop at present because we run off the budget and also because of the pandemic. And this is very small project, but also very interesting since so much strategy should be applied technically and socially. After 10 years involved in Cikini, I often being asked, why Cikini is still messy? My answer is that we would never been able to erase the messiness, and also because it is not our intention to eliminate the messiness of Kampung. I think we as the outsiders need to understand the messiness before judging the messiness at Kampung. Our theme for Joint Studio workshop in 2017 was bricolage or bricolage, or a skill of using whatever at hand to create something new. The workshop uncovered that when you see the junks or the things seem to be unuseful at any corner of Kampung, you need to understand that the inhabitants keep these all things partly because lack of storage and partly because one day they will use them for practicing bricolage. I have to tell you that enjoying this situation again will be happen during Independence Day, where all community do communing to beautify Kampung and then keep the Kampung clean, but it was last only 1 week. Yet it is more than enough for the community at Cikini. After 1 week, time for them to back to reality and struggle to survive facing the hardship living at the megacity of Jakarta. In the bank of Ciliwung River adjacent to Kampung Cikini, the government constructed the inspection road along both river banks for the river protection, and it was created a new interface between two systems of informal kampung and the formal river restoration. Here, the inspection path along the river transformed into a surface that formed a fixed boundary between formal and informal. In JKTWS 2016, this surface has been proposed as the road for the wedding parade of Kazuki Ueda, a Japanese student who lived in Kampung Cikini for 1 year. Site cleaning and painting process had been done through mutual collaboration between the student and local community. Bamboo red carpet and canopy installation erected for enliven the riverside as the place for wedding parade. And the wedding parade celebrate the riverside as the fun place. The riverside is not only considered as the inspection road, but also converted as happening sidewalk for the brides and groom, parents, children, students, and all local community members. Last time, I was invited to give presentation in the webinar conducted by the Ministry of Housing and Settlement. I had been asked, is it possible to erase the messiness of Kampung? My answer is yes, not only erasing the messiness, but also beautifying Kampung. Although you have to remember that it lasts only for 1 day. I repeat, only just 1 day. We proved this when we hold another wedding ceremony of Genta Sawai in 2018. And for this 1-day event, the students and the community worked together to plan and design the procession route, starting from that point and ending in that point. Some small intervention are located along the road for surprising the wedding couples and all community members, who then broke into cheerfulness and happiness. And this is some photos depicted the happy wedding day at that moment. In this short presentation, we try to bring together some of our past work with our more recent examination and thinking. There has been an overarching argument throughout the years, but thanks to the pandemic situation, we have times to pause JKTWS and look for the opportunity to put all activities together into a comprehensive argument. Our experience at Kampung Cikini showed that in higher education, the theories and practice of service learning have substantial limitation on their efficacy and sustainability. Therefore, in the future, we need to rethink and rework the potential of the transformative nature of the community-based model of teaching, learning, and research. Thank you.